Hi, so this video we're going to talk about impact with running. Impact is one of the items on my checklist for a better run. And think of impact as shock absorption. So when your foot hits the ground reaction force that comes up, your body needs to be able to attenuate that force. And so there can be breakdowns in the chain in different places of where that happens and why. So think of if you have knee pain, hip pain, or incontinence with running, that impact is then not absorbed well and there are leaks, for lack of a better word, or issues somewhere in the body that's not being able to accept the load very well. So I'm going to show you 3 things that you can do to reduce that impact, which then can make your running more efficient and reduce the pain and the leakage that you're dealing with. So the first thing is a forward lean. So think of it as if you're standing up and you go to step forward, what that feels like versus lean forward from your ankles and step forward. How well are you ready and prepared to accept weight onto that next foot when you're in this forward position versus standing up straight and then stepping? So if you watch really efficient runners, they're in a forward lean in this position while they're moving their arms and legs, and they're not standing straight up and moving. So that forward lean will, one, help to reduce the vertical impact, the vertical oscillation, and it can make a big difference in people who are having really hard heel strike and having issues with their knee and hips, as well as with leaking. It can really make a big difference because you're getting the core forward and you're leaning into that center of mass. And so the ability for your body to accept that load is a lot more efficient than standing straight up. So think of it as you're leaning from your ankles and then you're going to go forward into your run. Now, next thing we're going to talk about is foot strike along with that. So when you're standing straight up, it's easier to then want to be able to strike your heel. And if you look at this angle, everything is back this way, right? But we want this ability to happen here, to be able to accept the load forward, because then you're going to bring the next leg forward through. So if your weight is posterior and your heel striking here, there's less of that forward momentum, which then makes the impact really hard. So think of it as if you're falling forward, what you're going to do when your foot hits the ground, it should be under a slightly bent knee. So if you're jogging and you're hitting this way on a straight knee, that makes the impact that much harder. So think forward lean and landing over my foot. Foot comes under the ankle. This should be a straight line where your foot is under a bent knee and I'm leaning forward versus angling backward, straight knee and foot out in front. You want the foot coming under that leg to then be able to come through and plant. So we have forward lean and you have landing over your foot, foot under the knee, and body leaning over that foot to be able to then bring your next foot through. So forward lean, better appropriate landing, and the next thing is breathing. And breathing helps to connect the pelvic floor muscles especially. So the cool thing is pelvic floor muscles have actually been shown to engage preemptively before that next heel strike. So what that means is you can expect them to be working without having to overly contract and engage them. So first things first is breathe when you run. Don't hold your breath and don't hold your core tight. You want to think about breathing during your run as maybe inhale 3 steps, exhale 3 steps. And that can give you that nice consistent flow of oxygen coming in and out, preferably through the nose and not huffing and puffing through the mouth. The other thing to think of is when you are breathing, the pelvic floor and the diaphragm work together. So With inhale, the pelvic floor opens. With exhale, the pelvic floor closes. So you're naturally already having this interaction happen where you don't have to overly clench. So some of the people that I see who are having issues with leaking, they even more so want to tighten and tone and clench their glutes and their pelvic floor and their abs to be able to help those muscles engage so they don't leak. But counterintuitively, though it seems, if you can relax through your run and focus on your breath, then that makes your pelvic floor muscles even work better than if you're shortening them all the time. So, lean forward, body over that foot, and then breathe through. Inhale 3 steps, exhale 3 steps. So I'll show you how to put all 3 together for an exercise that you can work on. So what you're going to do is inhale as you're leaning forward, exhale right before you're stepping through, and keep exhaling as you step. So it looks like this. So this little technique is something that you can do in a lot of different ways, but it puts these 3 together where you can help your pelvic floor engage to be able to absorb the impact right before you land on that foot. Plus it also teaches you to get your center of mass over that foot so you're in a better foot strike position. The difference between heel strike and forefoot strike is not that much of a big deal. The bigger deal is what's happening with where your foot is under your knee when you're landing. And so this puts all of it together to then be able to help you absorb that impact well and go out and run with confidence. So I hope those 3 tips help you. Leave a comment below and make sure you subscribe.